Hello and welcome to Perspectives. My name is David Schoneman. I'm your host on the show, and I'm here with a very exuberant guest. You may have heard his voice already. He's a guest who's been on the show before, and I'm delighted to have him back. I'm here with my son, our son, Isaac Schoneman. My wife Shannon and I have a wonderful little boy here. He's 8 years old, and we're back to talk some more. Last time we talked about all kinds of things, geography and some history, and we talked a little bit about trains and about our travels. And as you can see from what we have here, we're going to talk a little bit more about trains today, specifically model trains. So, Isaac.
Bonjour.
Oh, did you speak French?
Ah oui, that I did.
Oh, what else can you say in French?
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle what?
Isaac.
Oh, well.
And mais oui, and et, and mon ami, and mes amis.
Wow, it sounds like languages and things about the world are still a very big interest to you. When you were here on the show last time, we talked a lot about geography.
Ah oui, that we did.
Yes, and we also talked a little bit about trains, and I see you brought some trains today.
Well, of course I did. Didn't you help me pack?
I did help you pack. I see you're wearing your train shirt, too.
Ah oui, that I am.
Yes, now, I appreciate the language. What other languages do you know a few words in?
Spanish.
Really? What do you know in Spanish?
Sí, and el gato.
What's el gato mean?
And señorita.
Oh.
And señora.
Wow.
And buenos dias.
Wow, you're sure learning a lot. And where do you go to school?
I'm homeschooled.
And who's your teacher?
I think you know.
I do know. Mommy.
Mom.
Want to say hi to Mom? You can look at the camera and say, hi, Mom.
Mom, if you're watching, then hello.
She'll be watching, I assure you. So we're going to speak English for the rest of the show. When we get to the end, we can maybe do a little French again, okay?
Ah oui, that we can do.
All right, so from now on, English. So
English.
Tell me about your trains. We got a lot of trains here. Do you still like trains? Oh, I see you also brought Little Jack.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget about introducing Little Jack. How's Little Jack doing today?
Good.
Good. He looks to be very healthy.
Elf.
Yes. And let's get back to trains.
Oh.
So you have a lot of trains.
Yeah.
You like trains.
Yeah.
You have a lot of trains at home, don't you? And you have a layout in the basement. You have a model railroad down there that's based on Lionel track and engines and stuff. What's your railroad called?
Ouagadougou and Western, as I already told you.
The Ouagadougou and Western?
Yeah.
And what does Ouagadougou mean?
You already told me.
Well, I want you to tell me. What is Ouagadougou?
It is country capital of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso.
Ouagadougou is the capital of the country of Burkina Faso. Where is Burkina Faso?
East Africa.
East Africa or West Africa?
No, West Africa.
West Africa. That's probably why it's called Ouagadougou and Western. I wonder if there's a real railroad called the Ouagadougou and Western.
Probably not.
Why'd you choose Ouagadougou?
Because, say the name.
Say the name, Ouagadougou.
Well, then that's it.
That's fun to say, isn't it? Who doesn't like saying Ouagadougou? That's what I'd like to know.
Probably my friend Luan doesn't.
Oh, maybe he doesn't. Let's talk about some of your trains here. We have a lot of different trains. Let's talk about them in terms of age. Let's start with the oldest ones and go forward. What do we have here?
This tin plate caboose.
A tin plate caboose.
Now, this is tin plate.
Now, tin plate because it's made out of stamped sheet metal. And this is a Lionel train. And did you get this train new?
No.
Is it old?
Oh, yeah.
Whose train was it?
My opa's.
This train.
My grandpa's.
This train was your grandpa's train. Do you know when these train cars were made?
1934?
About 1934. Yes, we have two of them here. These are tin plate trains. They still work on your layout if you want to. They have a little different kind of connector, and they're a little different style than some of the new trains you have. But this is called tin plate, and it's an antique. And you're very lucky to have this because you're right. This was your grandpa's train.
Yes.
When he was a boy. Your grandpa was born in 1933. And he had these trains when he was a boy, and I played with these trains too when I was a boy, and now you have these trains.
Yes, I do.
They're very special. We have about, how many tin plate cars do you think we have at home?
Probably 8.
Probably around 8. We didn't bring everything in today. We just brought in 8 or so. So these are
12.
Lionel tin plate. The doors work, right, and the wheels turn, and they're painted those pretty colors, and they're also pretty big, aren't they? This was probably called, this might have been called standard gauge back in the 1930s.
Yeah, standard gauge, yeah.
And standard gauge is very similar to O gauge that we have today, right? Mm-hmm. And the gauge refers to the width of the track. Mm-hmm. We have a piece of track here. This is the kind of track that these trains would have run on. Can you tell the folks about this kind of track? What's that called?
This is tubular track.
Tubular track, right? It's made out of tubular steel there. You got 3 rails.
Yeah.
3 rails. The wheels run on the outside rails. Mm-hmm. And on the middle rail, that would be a place where the electricity would flow to the engine to give it power to pull the train.
Yeah.
And that was an old style tall track. See how that's kind of tall?
Yeah.
That might have been 031 for the turns, if we had a turn. Let's move forward a little bit. We have another piece, another train here. This one's actually an engine. This is heavy. Now that one you need 2 hands for, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you can set little Jack down and hold the 2 hands there. So.
Well, folks, this is also tin plate, and it has.
Is it a steam engine or diesel engine?
It's a steam engine, and it has those crazy little wiggly daft things here.
The front wheels. Mm-hmm. And it has the driving wheels.
Yeah.
So how would you describe this engine? If this was a real engine, it would be a steam engine, and you would describe it by its wheel pattern, right? So what is its wheel pattern?
2, 6.
So it's a 260. Here, let's hold this up so we can see it.
I can hold it.
Oh, you can hold it so you can show the bottom of the engine? Turn it so we can see the bottom of the engine. You got 2 wheels here, then 6 wheels, and there are no wheels back here. But a steam engine, even real steam engines, they're all classed by how many wheels they have in the front, how many wheels they have in the middle, and how many wheels they have in the back. So this is a 260. Now, whose train was this?
Grandpa's, I think.
This was also Grandpa's train. And technically, this one's not tin plate. It's from a similar vintage, but a little bit more modern. This one is probably from around 1944, 1945. This is also Lionel. And this one, it's a little different scale. It runs on track that's the same width. This is 027 style track that engine would have run on. Now, when Opa had that when he was a boy, was it a 260?
No.
What was it?
It was a 262.
It was a 262 because there were 2 wheels in the back, weren't there? Mm-hmm. But those wheels are gone now. They used to derail a lot. So when I was a boy, my dad, your grandpa, took those back wheels off so it wouldn't derail so much. But this train saw a lot of action, and it still works. Mm-hmm. Should we set that down? It's very heavy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Very heavy. Yeah. That's a heavy one.
Yeah.
That's our 260. Mm-hmm. While we're talking about track, let's talk about a modern kind of track. You can talk about this while I set the engine back down. What is this?
This is fast track.
And who makes that?
Lionel, of course.
That's also Lionel. And the difference on this one is that it comes with
ballast.
With ballast on the track, but it's also 3 rails. And it snaps together very neatly. And it has a little better electrical contact from section to section than the old tubular track did, didn't it?
Now, we have this train. It's the thing that makes it go is on the engine. So if you go backward.
That one's got batteries, right? Who makes that one? That's also Lionel.
That is Lionel.
Yes. Lionel is the classic American train company, isn't it?
Yeah.
That runs on wooden tracks. You have some wooden track layouts at home, too?
Yep. I had one up yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where did you build it, in the family room?
Yep. So here is the track that it runs on.
Uh-huh. All right, let's put that guy back on there. And let's see what else. We have...
The keystone.
Want to show the keystone? Okay.
No, the switcher.
Want to show the switcher? Okay.
Yeah, this one.
That one's also pretty old. Not as old as the others. So we had the tin plate, that's from the 1930s. We had the 260, that was from the 1940s. And this one's probably from the 1960s, I'm guessing. And what is that steam engine also?
No, this is diesel.
It's a diesel, and it's called
Of course,
and it's called a switcher. Why is it called a switcher?
It just works in yards, switching everything around.
It works in the train yards, doesn't it? When we were out in North Platte, we probably saw some switchers moving trains around the yard. They don't really go on the open rail. They just kind of set the trains up in the yards.
Yes.
And it's used to move to hitch trains up and take them apart.
Okay.
All that kind of thing. Want to talk about...
Yeah, let's talk about Keystone. Can you hand them to me?
I can hand Keystone to you. Now, tell us about Keystone. Why is it called Keystone?
Because it comes with a train set called the Pennsylvania Keystone.
Right, because Pennsylvania is the Keystone State.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is a steam engine. What's the wheel pattern on this one?
080.
080. And this steam engine, again, this is Lionel, right? And it runs on any of the track that we've shown so far except for the wooden track. But it really runs best on this one here.
Yes. This fast track.
It runs on the fast track. And you've had this one. You got this one for your birthday, I think, right? Or was it for Christmas last year?
It was for my birthday.
For your birthday.
It was my birthday when I was turning 7.
And how old are you now?
8.
Right, when you turned 7, you got that one. So do we have some crew figures in there too, I see?
Look at them, guys.
Well, point them out. Use your other hand. Point them out.
There's one
crew
in
figures,
here,
that's the
and one in
engineer
here.
and the fireman.
Yep.
And does the headlight work on this engine?
Yes.
And does the whistle work?
Yep.
Wow.
The bell does also.
The bell does also. Yep. We can make the bell ring. We can't do it here because we're not powered up. And this one has smoke that comes out of the smokestack too.
Yes.
We have a lot of fun with this one on the layout too, don't we?
Yeah.
It pulls really well. We've got a few cars that go with this one. Of course, that engine, if we hook it up with the right tender, we can pull these guys too, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we have the right kind of connector, because these connectors are a little different than the modern connector. So one of the things that changed when we went from the oldest trains to the newest trains is the kind of connector. So we have to be a little more imaginative on how we're going to try to connect things together.
Yes, we do.
All right, well, let's hand this back over here.
And
This one's pretty heavy too, but not as heavy as that other steam engine we had.
Okay, now let's get the Union Pacific.
You don't want to talk about some of the other cars? Okay, we can talk about Union Pacific.
Actually, let's talk about... So there's this one. It's a crane car.
Well, let's let people see it. Let people see it. This is a crane car.
Hey.
How old is this one?
Don't know.
That's from the 1940s also.
There's this one.
Yeah, that's also a little more modern style tin plate, but it's also an old style train. Now careful, don't let that piece fall off of there. Yeah, we have to re-glue this one when we get home.
And this one is Milwaukee Road.
It's an intermodal, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Because it's a train car with a tractor trailer on it. Wow, that's interesting.
Now let's get the Dash 8. Can you hand the Dash 8
I
to me?
sure can. Now, Dash 8. This is a modern engine.
Oh, yeah. Now you guys might be saying, hey, where's the flag? But this one doesn't have a flag. Sorry to mention it.
Oh, the Union Pacific. Some of the Union Pacifics are painted with an American flag, aren't they? Yeah. This one's not painted with an American flag.
Strangely.
But this is a model of a modern engine. Are Dash 8s still used on the railroad today?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, they are. And Union Pacific, we saw a lot of Union Pacifics on our trip.
Yeah.
Union Pacific is pretty much out west in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Maybe to the Midwest. We don't see them too often around here.
The farthest east they go is Tennessee.
Oh, is it really? Mm-hmm. But they also operate on the Ouagadougou and Western Railroad.
Yeah.
And does this have a whistle or a horn?
Yeah.
Actually, diesel engines have horns.
Yeah.
Steam engines have whistles. So we can sound the horn on this. It's got a headlight.
Yep.
Does it have a headlight in the front and the back?
Has 2 headlights here. 2 headlights here.
And they light up depending on which way the engine is going, right?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And this can pull a lot of cars. How many cars have we had this engine pulling on our track?
Sometimes 15.
Sometimes 15. But it has the power to do that. And who makes this one?
Lionel.
Lionel. We have a lot of Lionel stuff. Lionel does most, well, it's probably the most popular brand of O-scale or O-gauge. And again, even though we have some old track here from the 1930s, this modern engine can still run on this old track. So we could use some of this old track on our layout, right? And we could run the modern engine as long as the curves aren't too tight. So we have the ability to run all of these on the same kind of track, depending on what kind of power we want to use. But mostly our layout has the fast track, right? Yeah. And you have one more steam engine here, I think. This one right here. Have you shown this one yet?
Actually, this one is the next one.
Okay, what do you want to tell us about this one? This one's different.
This one is really, really tiny. It's the tiniest one here. This is HO scale.
HO scale. You know what HO stands for? Half O. So it's half the size. On the scale, do you have a piece of track?
Oh, yeah.
The scale that we're talking about refers to the distance between the rails.
Yeah, so we can put...
It would fit on there. It wouldn't run on there. But this one is a two-rail system, and this distance between those two rails is half of the distance between the two outer rails here. So HO means half O. That's the half O scale.
Here it is.
Yeah, look at that. Now, we don't have much of an HO layout at home. We're mostly specializing on O, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we use mostly. O scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's put
I'll
it
put that guy back down. You can just set him on there.
And now we have this one. This is also steam engine. It's 242. And we don't really run this one very often.
No, we don't. We do once in a while. Now, is that one made out of metal too?
No, this is plastic, actually.
That one's made out of plastic? This one is probably from the 1970s, maybe the 1980s is what I'm guessing. And who makes this one?
Lionel, I think.
What's the number on the side of the engine?
1666.
That's kind of interesting because that one almost fell over. We don't want that to fall over.
No.
This one here
also has 1666.
also has 1666. Yeah, they're very similar, but this is an old one, and that's a more modern one. But they're both the 1666 engine.
Yeah.
But this is a 260, and this was your grandpa's, and this one is a 242.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was Dave Anderson's. So this one's a lot of fun to play with.
Was that one Dave Anderson's?
I think so,
Oh,
but
wow.
not as much as this one.
That's the biggest one you have, and you saved this one for last. Well, tell us about this one.
It's the youngest of all of them, and it is G scale, and...
What scale is it?
G.
G scale.
And it has a reindeer taped to the front.
A reindeer taped. Why's the reindeer taped to the front?
That was for Christmas.
Did you have this train set up at Christmas time? Was it around our Christmas tree?
Yep, there's a little dummy coupler back here.
But you have some other cars that do hitch up to that, right?
Yep. Too bad
And what kind of track does that one use?
This uses this plastic track.
And it's a much bigger scale.
It's the biggest of all the trains I have in total.
You sure have a lot of trains. And who makes that one?
Lionel. See,
Lionel.
says right here.
Says right there. That's a ready-to-play set, right?
G scale.
But it's ready to play, isn't it?
No, it's G scale.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe I'm mistaken. So this one you had set up around our Christmas tree. We just took our Christmas tree down the other day, finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for our train selection. Hey, what about that phone?
That's not a train. So, yeah, that's it for your trains. Now, you have many, many more train cars at home, don't you?
Yes. Let's go through a little big thing. Let's go through a little bit of review.
What's that, HO? We should say what they are. That's the heaviest one. That's the 260. And that's the oldest one, too. Yep. That's a Lionel. And there's another Lionel. You have so many trains. This is like show and tell. When we are homeschooled, we don't do a show and tell so often, do we? This is kind of like show and tell today. Yep. All right. That's great. So why do you suppose you like trains so much?
Because you can tell the story.
What's the story?
No, you tell it.
I don't remember the story.
You do.
Can you give me a hint?
They were in a box.
Oh, the box. Yes, the box. Meaning Oma's house. Yeah. Well, Oma had her house up in Vermont. Oma lives down in Connecticut now, doesn't she? But she had the house up in Vermont. Mm-hmm. And there were no kids around to play with the trains until you came along. All Oma's other grandkids are mostly grown, so you're Oma's youngest grandchild. And I was wondering, where are all those old trains? Grandpa's old trains, where are they?
Yeah, and they were in Grandma's house.
But we didn't know where they were.
And then we found them right there in the basement of Grandma's house.
They were right there in the basement in a box that said, written on it,
Trains.
Trains. But that box was at the bottom of a pile of a lot of boxes. My brothers didn't know where the trains were. My sister didn't know where the trains were. No one knew where the trains were.
No.
Until we got to the bottom of that pile, and there on a box it said trains. So we unpacked. I brought those trains home, didn't I? Mm-hmm. That was a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I took the engine over to a local train guy here, and he fixed it. Mm-hmm. And then we set this train up, the old 260 on the tubular track. We set it up around our Christmas tree probably about 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years ago. It was a long time. You're 8 now. You were probably 3, maybe 4. And we set that train up. And what did you think of that train when you first saw it? You liked it, didn't you? And from that moment on,
I've liked trains.
You've liked trains. And I tell you, it really pleased Grandma because she was glad to know that those trains that she hung on to for all those years, even though she didn't know where they were, she hung on to them all that time. And there was finally another grandchild who was going to play with them. And I was happy too, because these trains are trains that I played with. And I had no idea whether you would like them or not. But you did, and you do. And now you have your own train collection.
Yeah.
And let's just leave that there. That's the microphone. You want to keep that safe. And now you have your own train collection.
Take that microphone.
And
you're
able to play with it. We're nearly out of time.
Yeah, we need to do some more Frenchy.
What do you want to say in French? We're almost out of time here. We have 3.5 minutes.
Well, we are out of time, mes amis, and we might not have very much left yet.
And what do you want to say when you say goodbye to people?
Au revoir, audience.
Can you say au revoir, mon ami, or mes amis?
Au revoir, mes amis, and I will see you on the next show.
Well, Isaac, thank you very much for coming in. I'm glad to have you here. It's fun talking about trains. We'll see what we talk about next time. Maybe we'll do some more world travel stuff.
Merci.
And you can talk.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup to you, too. Thank you for coming in. And folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. My name is David Schoneman. You're watching Perspectives, and I'm here with my favorite guest, our son, Isaac Schoneman.
Hey, you said it already.
Yes, I know. Very glad to have him here. We'll probably have him in again. If you have any questions or comments about this show or about any of the other shows you've seen, we do a lot of political commentary on this show. We'll be back with that next week. Yes?
Oh, you better keep track.
I know. And we're also going to, I hope you're taking a look at some of the Schoneman's Garage shows we've been doing too, where I tape at home. And we've been doing some motorcycle work. So if you're interested in watching this show and you like these conversations, maybe you can take a look at Schoneman's Garage too, also on the National Public Television channel and on YouTube. And you'll be able to see some of the things we're doing over there too. No politics at all, no trains, just motorcycles. Maybe we'll do some motorcycles and trains together someday. But thank you for tuning in.
I hate motorcycles.
And do you want to say anything else?
Au revoir, audience. Au revoir, mes amis.
Sounds great. Au revoir to you too. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.